Right. Alright, seems to we're live. Hi, hello, welcome. Welcome to this video. And in this videos, we are going to talk about how to override dependencies in test. And well, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so here is what we got. I have made a bunch of cleanup in the code again, and as you may know if you watch the previous videos, one of the problem when I'm setting up the Solar 2D and then also doing the test in the in Lua itself using the Bust test runner is that the one of the dependencies, the JSON package, quote-unquote package, is provided by Solar 2D framework itself, and so it's not available in Lua. So in the Bust in vanilla Lua. So what happened is that I have to use the CJSON library, and it works fine, but the problem is still a hassle that I have to replace it and then find a way to override the dependencies, and also to actually really just reuse it. Because the thing is, if I start using this JSON library inside the business logic, then I'm doomed. I'm still doomed, because what I have done is putting the JSON library usage in the gateway itself, which I can mock out. So in the mock or in the stub gateway, I use the JSON library, CJSON instead. The good thing is the syntax for the CJSON and the JSON provided by Solar 2D is the same, right? The signature is the same. It's all both of them using JSON .encode and .decode, right? So that's definitely a good thing. So, but to solve that problem, what I end up doing is pretty simple actually. It's using the Bust configuration. So here it is. So in the Bust test runner, it allows you to load a configuration, and by default it will load this .bust file. And so in the .bust file, you can specify a helper file or package, well, essentially file that the Bust test runner will load before all of the test. So, and then inside this file, what I do is using the package. The package is the global variable in Lua that allow you to override certain certain behavior. And one of the things is it exposes a preload table, and which allows you to say, hey, if someone's tried to get the JSON package or file, whatever that is, then instead of getting it from the normal code, and I can do something before that. And in this case, I just tells it to use the CJSON instead. So with that, you see that well, the test is working, right? The test, it doesn't fail. So say for example, if I comment this out, then you will see that it was saying that, hey, the game data, it tried to load the JSON but cannot find it, right? So with this, this is fixed. And the good thing about this is, of course, you don't have to mention these kind of things on every files that you have. Like say inside this spec file, you know, if I'm not doing this, right, you might think that, hey, maybe I do it over here, but this one doing it over here have a problem, because in the test that you write, right, say for example like this, because Lua is a scripting language, so it will just follow the code step by step, right? So let me show you what it means. Is say now I have this commented out, and then I have this load over here, and if I run it, this is working fine, right? But let's see what if I put this at the bottom. Well, it's still working fine. Oh, because I am not, I guess because this is scam. So let's say for example local JSON equals to require JSON. If I do that, it should fail. I don't know why it didn't. Why it didn't? I don't know. In this. So if I comment this out, let's say, it's still fine. So definitely there's something wrong with the example I'm giving. If I take this out, for sure it will fail. Yes, and then this fail at game.card. Okay, this failed at game.card. However, because of other file. Yeah, so this is a little bit complicated. So give me a second. In order to demonstrate, I would say -p, and let's say exploration. Okay, so now this is failing, and if I do this, this also fails. Yep. So what happened is it passed because I have multiple tests, right? Again, it turns out the way that bus work, right, all of the tests is run in the same process, which should be. I'm used to that. The idea that each test are run in different process or different threads, because on the JavaScript TypeScript side, I'm using Jest, and Jest is doing this parallel test running, so that each test file are running at their separate workers, so they are isolated. But it is not in this case. So what happened is that when I am running the whole thing, running all this, is working because in some other test I have somehow loaded this spec gateway, this game data gateway ahead of time, before I able this line able to execute. So that's why in here this is executed first, so that it works fine, right? So if I use -p, which is the short form of pattern, then it will filter out the tests and only run the tests that match that pattern. And in that case, you will see that it failed, because in this test, it will first load this, and then since this is loaded before this is even ever loaded, because I commented it out, then the problem exists. And so now if I do this, it will still fail. But if I do this, move it up, it starts passing, because the order have changed. It loads this first, which will execute this, then it will work fine. So of course this is not a optimal result, right? So that's why using a helper file that would be preload when the bus test runner execute is always a better choice, right? And of course is always it's cleaner that way, right? So in this code, one of the things that I changed is now instead of calling the CJSON, I can also, just like any other code, using the JSON package, quote unquote, because underneath it is still the CJSON. So that's how that works. And with that allows me to do one more change. Remember, I have organized the gateway so that well, all of the functions are kind of just functions instead of method, instead of instance method, right? So you can see that they are all by dot. So game data dot update from source and so on. So the one problem is with that is about overloading or basically reusing the existing functionality or existing logic, so to speak. Because while on the gateway, you should not, well, at least the way I organize it, it should not contain any data or any logic. However, there are some data logic that will goes well in here. Say for example, function like this, low skill level, and the implementation is just get all the skill for that particular type, and then just get the level, the particular level specified over it. Another example is get like this, get the ID, and then yet another example is like this, is that the underlying call is getting the cards, which I have changed it to become a map, so basically a hash table that so the particular card is governed by the ID, and the ID is now a string, so say punch or jab or block instead of a number 1 2 3 4 5. So making it a map make this code a lot easier, and also a lot easier to manage, right? Cards.json. So now the data becomes like this, right? So it might look a little bit less efficient because, you know, these are kind of extra, because you can always just index it. And in fact, you know, if we really want, if you are comfortable with list or using libs, or then this whole JSON thing can be just a list, right? So the first one, and then the first entry is a punch, and then summary is empty string, and then 1 energy 1, attack 1, defense 0, rarity 1, and then so that is one card. And then the second one is cake, and then empty string 2 3 0 1, right? So this is a lot more compact than this, right? However, at this stage of the development, you know, there's no need to optimize for the space or anything. So the readability and the able to you know, maintain it easily by human is important. That's why I've changed it to this way, so that it's easier to maintain. And because of that, the code have changed to this, right? Well, to this over here. So then one of the problem is then how, you know, whenever I add a function over here, then I have to add a function over here in the spec gateway also, right? And if I'm using OO, then, you know, you might be very comfortable or very familiar that you can just use inheritance to say, okay, you have a base gateway, which is the real one, and then I mock it, create a new class that extends the original gateway, and then just override some functions and leave some function intact, right? So that's one way to do it. But over here, I strive for another way, because for one thing that's great for Lua is that all of the objects or the entity that you work on are tables, right? Including the quote-unquote class or module itself. So if you notice in the past, what I had over here was like this. In the spec gateway, is creating a new game data object and then fill in all of the quote-unquote static functions, right? But now with the helper and all those stuff in place, I can actually get the base one get the one that is the actual one, and then only overriding the static methods that I need to override, right? So the one that the method I'm going to override is the one that actually touches the external dependency, meaning the file system. So therefore, you can see over here, now I have these functions, and that's it, right? Only 4 functions I need to override. The other code, like say the low cards, and then also this low skill level, actually I should really call it low skill by level, something like that, is already built in, is already included, right? I'm just overriding those extra functions that I want to override. So, and this mechanism is very nice, and also it's the same way that you believe you can do it in Rust, right? So that's kind of again enforce another advantage of doing the quote-unquote data-driven design, right? So that's it. So now this code passed, and I'm able to test and run in either way in the test, and also able to use it in real code. So that's it. That's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed this and hope you learned something. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.